The air hung heavy with the weight of unspoken accusations. "Step out of the vehicle now." "This Atlas Motors Escalade is reported stolen." The words, sharp and final, sliced through the quiet evening on a street in the city of Havenwood. Under the harsh glow of a precinct floodlight, a pearl white and obsidian black Escalade gleamed, its polished surface reflecting an authority that was meant to be hers, but was already slipping into suspicion. Behind the wheel, a woman in a vibrant scarlet suit sat, calm and unshaken. Her presence was a force the officers couldn't measure, but in that moment, they didn't care. To them, she was not a CEO, not an owner, not even a possibility. She was a problem to be erased. She opened the door slowly, every movement deliberate, as if she had rehearsed this 100 times. The street murmured. Onlookers lingered at the corner mark. A teenager pulled out his phone. A mother gripped her child's hand a little tighter. The Escalade was more than a vehicle. To them, it was proof of possibility. To the officers, it was evidence of a crime. And to her, it was a mirror of the life she had built with steel patience and relentless will. The first officer stepped closer, demanding identification with a voice sharp enough to cut glass. She handed over the papers without a single tremor, her gaze level, her jaw set like marble. Another officer leaned in, his lips curled in a sneer. "Don't bother. I've seen this scam before. A fancy car, fake documents. The story always falls apart." His words carried not just suspicion, but contempt, the kind carved over years of bias disguised as procedure. She did not raise her voice. Silence was her weapon, and patience was her shield. The Escalade's engine ticked softly as it cooled, a mechanical heartbeat marking each second of her restraint. Across the street, a man whispered. She gave them proof. "Why are they pushing it?" Another lifted his phone higher, the small red recording light blinking like a witness too honest to ignore. The air thickened, the scarlet of her suit glowing under the floodlights. Not flamboyant, but undeniable, a color that refused to be silenced. She knew this scene. At 19, in the bustling streets of Meridian City, she had been pulled over and accused of borrowing her own car because her dress looked too simple. At 26, she had been told her registration didn't match her face. Now, in her mid-40s, she stood again on the same stage, but this time with everything to lose and everything to reveal. The first officer crumpled her photocopied registration, tossed it to the ground, and muttered, "Fraud. We're calling it in." His partner reached for the key fob, gripping it like stolen treasure. The crowd gasped. She stood still, the calm before a storm that would not shout, would not beg, but would turn this street, this moment, this precinct upside down in less than 12 minutes. The officer tightened his grip on the key fob, his knuckles pale under the street lamp. "This vehicle is evidence," he said, his voice echoing across the sidewalk. He slipped the key into his pocket, like it was contraband seized in a raid. The woman in the scarlet suit did not move. She stood beside the gleaming SUV, every inch of her posture unshaken, as if the pavement itself anchored her to the moment that a second officer, older and with sergeant stripes, walked forward. His smirk was deliberate. "I've seen this too many times. Luxury cars, fake names, quick exits before the truth catches up." He turned to the growing crowd and added, "She won't fool us tonight." His words carried across the block, loud enough for strangers to hear, loud enough to seed doubt in people who had already seen the proof. She did not reach for her phone yet. She did not raise her voice. Instead, her silence pressed heavier than their accusations. She knew this game. The only thing different were the uniforms. One of the younger officers shifted uneasily, glancing at the torn papers on the ground. His lips parted as if to speak, but the sergeant cut him off with a sharp look. "Not a word. She's a fraud until we prove otherwise." The phrase rang out like a gavel, closing the courtroom before evidence could even be presented. Finally, the first officer pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, we have a possible suspect with a stolen Escalade, requesting immediate backup." His words were crisp, almost too practiced, as if the script had been waiting for her long before she arrived. The woman tilted her head slightly. Her calm was not submission. It was calculation. Each insult, each false word, each unlawful gesture was being weighed, logged, and stored in her memory. She had learned long ago that storms didn't need to be met with thunder. Sometimes, the storm needed only to be endured until it revealed who was standing when the clouds cleared. The murmurs grew louder. "That's not right," a man near the corner market said. They tore up her papers. Everyone saw it. The chorus of witnesses rose slowly, a low hum turning into something sharper. But the officers did not bend. One of them moved closer, reaching for her arm as if to assert control. The moment his hand hovered in the air, the entire street seemed to pause, suspended between restraint and eruption. She looked straight into his eyes, unblinking, and spoke for the first time that night. "Touch me, and you will regret the second you were issued that badge." The silence that followed was electric, carrying more weight than any shout ever could. The officer froze, caught between procedure and a presence he could not name. The storm had begun, but it was not hers. It was theirs. The younger officer's hand dropped to his side, hesitation spreading across his face. The street held its breath. Then the sergeant stepped forward, his boots grinding against the pavement. "Detain her," he barked, as if volume could make the accusation real. His words tore through the gathering crowd. Several phones lifted higher, the red recording lights flickering like a constellation of witnesses. "She did nothing," a teenager whispered. "They're trying to frame her." The woman finally bent down, picked up the torn registration paper, and smoothed it between her fingers. She didn't hold it up to prove anything. Instead, she let it hang at her side, a torn relic of a ritual she had endured too many times. Her voice carried, steady and low. "Evidence destroyed by your own hands that will read differently in court." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "She's right," a man near the market shouted. "You tore it up. We all saw it." The sergeant's jaw tightened. His authority was beginning to fray, and the crowd felt it. The younger officer, barely out of academy training, shifted again. "Her VIN number is valid," he muttered under his breath. "I checked the scan." The words slipped out like an accidental confession. The sergeant spun toward the young officer, fury flashing. "Quiet. Don't undermine me in front of civilians." But a teenager had already caught it on camera. The officer shrank into silence, yet the damage was done. Something had cracked open. The woman in the scarlet suit calmly pulled out her phone. Her voice was steady, surgical. "Begin Protocol 7. Confirm registration under Horizon Automotive. Timestamp this call." A professional voice replied, "Confirmed. VIN verified. Internal Affairs notified. Do you wish to proceed further?" The crowd stirred, their whispers rising. The sergeant tried to recover, shouting, "She's lying. That car was reported stolen. Don't believe her." But his voice lacked weight. They had seen him tear up her papers, heard his hesitation, and now listened to her proof. Her head lifted, her words sharp. "You call me a thief on a street I helped build. You tore my documents before witnesses. You grabbed from me without cause. And still I stand here." The crowd froze, her presence shifting the balance of power. More patrol cars arrived, red and blue lights painting the Escalade. The sergeant barked, "Place her in cuffs now." 2 officers approached, cuffs glinting. Yet she stood tall, unflinching. She had faced men like this before, in boardrooms mistaking patience for weakness. This was no different. From the edge of the crowd, a boy shouted, "She showed you her papers. You tore them up." More voices followed. "We saw it." Phones rose higher, documenting every second. The officers hesitated. The sergeant lunged, snatching at the torn registration. The scraps fluttered again to the ground. His act was desperate, final, as if erasing the evidence could erase the truth. Her phone buzzed. Without breaking eye contact, she answered. "Verification complete," the voice confirmed. "Atlas Motors Escalade registered under your name. Internal Affairs monitoring live feed. Do you wish to escalate?" Her lips curved slightly. "Yes, escalate." The sergeant's voice cracked. "Ignore her. That's staged." But the crowd no longer believed him. His authority was collapsing, thread by thread. The woman spoke once more, her words landing like a verdict. "You call me a thief. You tore up my proof. And still I stand here." He hissed, "You're fighting the law." Her whisper cut through him. "No, I'm showing what happens when you deny what is already mine." The street erupted, not in chaos, but in clarity. Phones lifted higher. The sergeant's power shattered. The storm had broken wide open.